Good evening, Tracy. I'm Raj Singh, and you're watching the weekly political podcast. Along with me, I have.
Good page at all.
Thank you, Gutej. Thank you. And as you guys know, the election season's over, and now it's time to look who we have in our office. And we're starting with our mayor, City of Tracy's first female elected mayor, African American, Dr. Nancy Young. Dr. Nancy Young is not required an introduction. She served on the council for 8 years, and now she's elected as a mayor. So let's all hear from Dr. Nancy Young. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be once again on your show. I was the first on your show when you started back last summer. Didn't really know what to expect, but I really appreciate you gentlemen helping me get out there and just reach others within our community of all the things that were going on. And there's so many things going on now. So I'm ready for whatever questions you got for me. Go ahead.
All right. I think it's not more questions, it's more to know about your journey, right? Because as we know, you served for 8 years as a councilwoman for City of Tracy. So we're excited and we wanted to know what made you decide to get involved in the public office and what was the trigger point and how was your experience being a councilwoman now? How's your journey is going to be as a mayor?
Okay, so journeys is interesting because sometimes, journeys, you think you're going in one direction and then you come to a stop sign or a stop light, or you have to turn right or turn left. And so as my journey has begun since I was a little girl, I always felt that everybody's voice mattered. And, different people afforded me the opportunity to be able to speak and be heard and make a difference. And so I've always felt like I needed to have input into my life. I just wasn't that one to just sit there, whatever you tell me, yes, yes, yes. I was always the one to question the whys and the hows and how we can actually contribute and make things better for other people as well. And so that started for me back all the way. I would go to second grade when I was a safety monitor. That's the first thing that I signed up for to be able to do. And then when I was 9 years old, to be able to usher at my church, there was power in being able to hold out your hand and be like, give me that gum. So just to be able to, have the church service even go, smoothly and become a Sunday school teacher and student body president by the time I was high school. And when I graduated from high school, I wanted to be the president of the United States. Now, I don't have those lofty goals anymore in life because I've been to Washington, D.C. many of times to see that things are very different at that level. And, my mentor here in Tracy, the former council member, Evelyn Tolbert, she told me that she only really was interested at the local level because you can really make an impact and a difference there. And so once you start getting higher levels, there's so many other factors that come into play. And so right now, my focus has brought me to locally in Tracy. 2008, when I started attending the council meetings, it was really because some time had passed on. My kids were getting older. My youngest was older. What I mean, my youngest at the time was starting kindergarten. He's now 20, but at the time he was starting kindergarten, and I felt like, I had a little bit more time to not just focus on work and the different things that I did within the community, whether it was at church or the different nonprofits that I was a part of, and mentoring at the schools, because that's all still a part of my real passion. But from there, sitting in the audience in 2008, I went just to see what was going on in my town and to see what was going on. And so from there, I started going to all the council meetings. For 4 years, I sat there with my notebook, taking notes and learning about the different issues, while all along I was getting involved in different organizations within our city. Because at the time, I have to say, I was inspired by Barack Obama, who was running for president of the United States at the time, who said, that you should get out there and do whatever you can wherever you are. And so I began to look around my city, because I lived in other cities in the past, and granted, I was busy with school things and busy with church, but on a whole nother level of being able to be involved with civic organizations was something I hadn't taken on until I moved here in Tracy. And so back 8 years ago now, 4 years after being in the audience, I did get elected to city council. And so it was fascinating. And I tell you, to this day, every time I walk down the steps at City Hall or walk into the lobby of City Hall, it's still awe-inspiring. I'm like, oh my goodness, somebody voted for me. I'm here. I can't believe it. And so every time it feels like the first time for me, and I hope that feeling never ever goes away. To feel that I'm really honored that people would entrust in me to be able to really fight on their behalf, to highlight their voices. And so, to go sit behind the dais was like, wow, to look out in the audience from a different perspective than actually sitting in the audience. That was something different. And I likened it, and I was explaining to one of the new council members. I said, it's like being an aunt, and you're that good aunt. You spend a lot of time with your nieces and your nephews, but then you become that parent. And when you become that mother or that father, it's a whole nother responsibility that you have, that I'm responsible for this little life. I'm responsible for their protection. And so, I mean, as you would know, Raj, now becoming a dad, it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want anything to happen to them. Right. And so it was one thing to work on the outskirts within the community and helping where I can, to being responsible for our city and many of the decisions that's going to affect a lot of people. I became that passion that I had became like a mother. Like, oh my goodness, I'm responsible for many people. And so the things that I say and the things that I do, I never take it lightly. And the decisions that I make, because I know the gravity of it's the ripple effect and throughout years to come. And then now that I've crossed over after 8 full years on the council, now serving as the mayor, I've only been in my seat for a week tomorrow. But the reality of it is, many people have called not just to congratulate me, but to ask me different things and really try to give input as to how they can help in their businesses and as individuals and within our community. And it's amazing. I'm like, okay, I've been here for 8 years. People didn't reach out to me the same way as a council member as they are as mayor. So I really feel that responsibility to make sure that that information is getting disseminated, and that we're really trying to pull people together, to pull all the resources together to be able to make Tracy better together. So here I am now, 51 years old. I can't believe it. I was in my 30s when I started sitting in the audience. But to now be a mother and a grandmother, it's intriguing. I'm excited. It's a new part of a journey for this part of my life. So now I've turned another corner, and now I'm just going down this new path, just blazing trails ahead. But I'm excited to what the future is going to bring. I'm excited for a new council. Sometimes I just feel like, God knows exactly what he has for us. And he knows exactly the team that he's prepared for me to work with. And so my whole new theme is all about Team Tracy. I totally want us to be connected, collaborative, and to be able to really come up with some great solutions together that's going to move Tracy forward together. It's not about Nancy. It's not about anyone individually, but how can we as a unit make this everything better, and how can we plan thoughtfully about our future?
Thank you very much, Dr. Young. So you are part of this society since long and in the leadership role as a city councilwoman. So you saw this city, a small city, a small town feel, so grew to this level, and it is growing at a tremendous rate. So in your opinion, so in your thoughts, so what would be your vision for this city of Tracy? So how do you want to take it forward, and what are your thoughts? So what do you want to see this city to be in the coming years?
So, it's interesting because you talk about the small town feel. That's one of the things that stood out for me here when I moved here almost 14, 15 years ago. I've lived in larger cities. I grew up in Compton. Los Angeles was an area that, the main thing that I grew up as a young person, and then graduating from San Fernando High, and then living in Oakland when I was at UC Berkeley. Berkeley had its own atmosphere, own culture, own little niche there. Right. But here, when I moved, after that, I got married and moved to Fremont, and it had its own, little quaintness about it. But Tracy really pulls you in, with the parades, with the events at Lincoln Park, all the thing. It just feels like, even though we're almost 100,000 strong, you still feel that smallness in that community. And so if anything happens to someone, I've been a part of things that, maybe somebody needed help, and it just spreads throughout the community. Everybody comes to rally in, to help, to encourage. And so to go to the DARE graduation, see all the little kids, it just feels so personal. It feels so personal to be able to go in the grocery store and you know your neighbor, people know you, or even now from me running and my face being on so many things, people are like, oh my goodness, it's Mayor Young. I'm just like, so sweet. It's so sweet to me. I just love that, to be able to feel that small town, just closeness. And this year has been very difficult. This year of 2020, I call it now that somehow we've stepped into the twilight zone or the outer limits. I don't know if any of you ever watched those shows, but I did when I was younger. And you just go into alternate world, and that has been very hard on all of us, dealing with the restrictions of the COVID-19, because we don't get to do all the small town things. We didn't get to do Juneteenth. We didn't get to do 4th of July. We didn't get to do the Halloween thing downtown. We didn't get to do the Christmas light parade. I mean, all these other things. I mean, a lot of other little things that happen all the time downtown. We didn't get to do any of that. We didn't get to do the music in the parks. We didn't get to do the Friday night live things outside, the block parties, all those different things, the country western, the soul, the different ones. Those are so many things that bring community together. We feel so disconnected. So my real goal is to find ways to connect us. Zoom is a whole new thing. StreamYard, all these different things are new. And as I said in my opening speech at council, is that we need to try to find ways to make lemonade out of the lemons that we've been dealt this year. And so my real goal is, first of all, to try to foster that teamwork, to foster that. I think that's my number one priority, really, for the council, because no matter what we tackle, if we know we're on the same team and we all can be heard, then I think we can move things along most expeditiously and for the best benefit of the community, where no one's trying to really highlight their voice more, but our voice is collective. I don't know if you've ever sang in a choir, but I did for a number of years. I was directing a adult choir when I was 11 years old. And the main thing within a choir is that it's one sound, it's one voice. You have the tenor, soprano, and altos, but when you sing together, it's supposed to be a melody that goes together, where it's just that one smooth sound. Now you have a leader, that may lead the song and do ad-libs in between. And so there's always going to be something that has an ad-lib that's going to rise above. But we as a whole should be in harmony, and we should be moving forward. So that's my number one priority. The other thing I think that we all need to focus on is, how are we going to come out of this whole COVID season successfully? It's economic development. It's a lot of individuals, from the individual mother and father, that parents, that business owner, that small business owner, the large business owners. You see large businesses leaving in masses. It's scary. What is our tomorrow going to hold? Are we leaving like the Spanish flu led into an era of the Great Depression? Are we leading into a time where we're going to have to go through something like that in our lifetime? That was in our history books. I don't want to go through that. Many people have worked very hard to get to where they are. And I want us to be able to really come out of this and not have to repeat history unnecessarily. We can't help illness. That we can't help. But we can help the narrative, and we can help the plans for going forward. So I want to see us really come out of this. Financially, we were already going into this year not healthy financially as a city. It had nothing to do with COVID. COVID has only complicated matters. But I want to see, there's a financial plan that council members, Areola and Vargas, now Mayor Pro Tem, has been working on, and I'm really fascinated to see some of the plans, how we're going to move forward with this. The equity and the equity plan that council members Rhodesia and Areola had began. I'm trying to think what that second word is, equity and empowerment or something that we're doing, that really to go through every thread of our organization and every thread of our community to feel that connectivity, and to make sure that the excuses of the past aren't what we use for the future, and how we can elevate and how we can promote and how we can include in all of our voices, with every commission that we have, with every level of employment, with everything that we do, to be sensitive to the varied community that we have. It's not black, it's not white, it's not all Sikh, it's a mixture. And we need to honor that mixture and make sure that all the voices are mixed in there and heard and moved forward. I'm really concerned about housing, and this is the last point that I'll touch on right now. I'm really concerned about housing. We've already been talking about affordable housing before March, and so it's a very real need that we have. But because of COVID, it's definitely complicated a whole segment of people, not from those who are already homeless, and the lack of even a warming center, that we're trying to get something right now because it's freezing outside. It's cold. It was cold all day today. And so, I mean, I was laying in my bed last night really thinking about how I'm cold. I had to get up and turn on my heater, but nobody outside could just turn on the heater outside. You know, I'm just concerned about our homelessness. I'm concerned about the affordable housing because many people are on the brink of losing their homes. Many people on the brink of foreclosure are those who rent homes, you know, and those who can't pay the rent. And what about those who own the homes and their businesses? It's a ripple effect. It's a lot that's going on. And so I want to just make sure that we're being very cognitive in how we're approaching and sensitive of how we're approaching all these things. And we're looking at the health of people. I'm looking at the health of our people as well as the health of our economics, of our people in their businesses. I'm looking at the mental health, the challenges that our youth are facing because they can't go and socialize with their friends, or they can't get out and go to school, or they can't play sports. What if I was a football star and it's my senior year? I can't even play football, and I made it all the way to my senior year. Maybe I was playing since Little League, as my little brother did, and went on to college to play as well. So there's a lot of things that I think that we need to be sensitive, and it's just a hard time within our world. I think that it's the makings of a civil war because you have different people that believe and feel different ways within the same family, within the same city blocks, within the same community, within the same state, or the same country, or the same world. And so it's going to be hard. So I think we need to develop a new sensitivity, sensitivity to each and every person, and realize that we all just feel differently about different things, and we have to respect and honor that. And I'm not going to get mad at you if you don't have your mask on, because it's hard for you to breathe, because I'm thinking you're trying to kill me because you don't have on a mask. I just see things differently, and I'm trying to see things more holistically. It's not a platform, whether it's Republican or Democrat, but it is about people. But we need to look, I think we need to look at it holistically. And I think that's the only way that we're going to be able to really move forward, because right now I think fear is dominating a lot of the landscape, and it affects us all, where we are, where we live. And so I know early on with our council, as I was mayor-elect, I said, I know some of you probably mad at me, mad that you voted for me because I'm fighting for some of our small businesses. But I feel that it's my job and my position to look at the larger picture. And that's truly what I'm trying to do. And I'm just praying that, you know, we find a way to move forward together and respect and honor one another.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that these are the very imperative points that everybody needs to know, and what their leader is thinking and what the leader is working on. As you said, being in a small town and having a small businesses, which are the backbone of any town for their growth. And you're supporting that, you're working towards that, and obviously we're dealing with the COVID and giving the choice. Somebody, it's advisory, right? They want to wear a mask for their own protection, which they should, and there should be some protocols. But I'm going to leave that up to everybody smart and intellectual. They can make their own decisions. So thank you so much for touching all those at great points. And I want to move forward to our next segment of our show to know, like, you have such a great vision. You have such a great policy-making experience from last 8 years. So if anybody from the town as a Tracy resident would like to add a value, how would you advise them that they can reach out to you, or how would they make a value addition to your policies?
Okay, so you know, one of the things that I brought up, and I intend to bring it up again, and that's the Citizens Academy, and that is really just information and education for the citizens within our community of how things work and how people can be involved in things. because something may be a passion for you. Like, for instance, Roger Birdsall ran for council when I ran, I think back in 2012. It might have been no, it was 2012. But his passion was all about education and about bringing a college here. So what did he do? He helped to build this consortium to bring a college here. And so it doesn't have to stop, wherever people's passion is. Well, if I can't be council member, then I'm not going to do anything. So you can really make a difference wherever you are, whether it's on a commission and you learn more things within our community, or you get involved with a civic organization, or you create your own things, like different ones, have passions for technology. And that's something that we're in a technology stage and era of our lives. And I think that it would be neglectful for us not to consider technology. And so maybe, they can be a part of solutions and things that, forward thinking. There's some other things already in the works, and everyone don't always know on what's going on behind the scenes. But there are a number of things. And so I think it's really interesting when people do ask us and have meetings with us so that we can actually share some of the things that are actually in the works, and then people understand and get a better picture of what's really going on. But because we do have term limits, we're not here forever. I served 8 years, which is the maximum you can serve in Tracy as a council member. Unless we get things changed with the mayor. The mayor's position is only 2 years, and you can serve a maximum of 4 years. So 2-year terms. I did support past discussion on changing that to 4 years, because you really do lose the continuity of historical context, relationships, and a lot of things when it's short. But it probably won't affect not even my next term. But I'm all for looking that up so that we can, hopefully whoever we get in, post me, will be able to be there longer time to be able to make more of an impact and see things come to fruition. So meanwhile, I will have my doors open at City Hall as soon as public is able to come in. I already started decorating my office, trying to make it look a little girly. I'm actually the second female. There was another lady, I still don't know her name. They're supposed to look it up and let me know, who was a council member back in 2000, the mayor back in the 80s. But I am the first person of African American descent. So I'm still very honored, and I'm excited. So as soon as we can open the doors back up, I will have set hours. People can just drop in if they want. Meanwhile, they can always get a hold of me. They can contact me via email or text. I'm really good at text, better than anything. We have a formal city phone, and you can always call the city and get that number. But my cell number is 510-459-5505. That is my Nancy Young. And that's just really the best way to reach me. And I know people say you give out your number, but I actually found that I've never actually had it abused. In the moment that I do have it abused, I just have to block you. But other than that, I've had this number for more than 20 years, and I don't plan on changing it. And so you can always email me as well. I have a few emails now, which is Nancy Young, the number 4 Tracy at yahoo.com. And so that's probably the very best one to reach me at if you want to reach me anytime, any day. And some people do take advantage of like midnight. Before, we had some real issues when it was a fire going on. And so this one lady got in touch with me because she needed to get in touch with some fire directors. And I was able to connect her in the middle of the night. It was an emergency. So I understood that. And so it wasn't just, to chit chat. So if anybody wants to, get in touch with me, I am available. I am, I try to be as personal and open as I can. I am really like an open book. I don't have alternate agendas. I say exactly what I mean, and I mean what I say. And I don't ever have to try to remember what I said to whom, because it's always going to be the same thing. It's always going to be the truth. And so I just found out that from a young age, you don't have to try to remember the truth, because the truth is, it's the lies that you have to try to remember who you told what to. So.
Totally right. Yep.
I can't hear you, Gorted. That was because I see your mic thing is off. Somebody had posted a thing the other day. It says the quote of 2020. It says you're on mute.
Yeah, no, sincerely, thank you, Dr. Young. So yeah, irrespective of the background, anybody is more than welcome to add value to the city of Tracy. They're more than welcome to reach out to you, reach out to the city staff, and add value to their society. And with that, want to thank you again, Dr. Young, for being here and for sharing your thoughts, how you want to lead the city of Tracy going forward. So with that, we'll request our listeners to please get engaged for your society, for your city, so that we can make it a better Tracy for our tomorrow, a better Tracy tomorrow. Thank
Thank
you
you
very
Thank
much,
so much,
and
guys. I
we'll
really
meet you again.
appreciate you having me today. Call me anytime. Y'all got myself. All right.
you. Thank you.
All right. Okay, bye.